In the last 15 years or so, my work is largely around paper. I always say I don't work on paper, I work with paper. Because I start molding it, I start using the pulp in various ways, so that the fundamental idea that paper is a white surface on which you do something, that gets transformed. So this was one of the first pieces which I attempted in pulp painting. I was doing pulp painting before, but that was on a surface. I create a white sheet of paper, and then on that I would do pulp painting. But in this stage, I was trying to bring out the pulp through the nozzle for almost 2-3 years, and correct kind of viscosity I was not achieving. And finally, I got it, and then you can see that it looks like a membrane, it looks like a cell structure, an undefinable kind of organic quality that comes to that. And once this piece came out, and it opened up a huge arena for me to explore. For the next several months, it was like a mind-blowing kind of series of works. I would get up early in the morning, full of ideas, then come to the studio, try it out, and then you fail. I like calling my studio as a lab. It's not a working place, it's not a workshop. So lab is a place where you try out your ideas, right? You get an hunch, or you get a sort of an insight, and then you actually try it out, and then in the process of making, things change. You don't have the complete work in your head. So making becomes very important. In the process of making, you realize something, then you take it further. Like this, what I'm trying right now is, like you have created this kind of structure in thread on the frame, and then I dip the whole thing in pulp and then lift it out. So I still not got it. What I'm trying to look at is, like, if you go very close to a cell structure, something like that you will start seeing. And I want to make a big installation with these pieces. But trial and error and failing is part of the making of the work. And if you look around, there are more failed works than the successful works in that sense. Somebody asked me in the map show, how long did it take? I said physically making it might have taken like a week or 10 days, but it took 40 years to arrive at that point. Because there is so much that has gone in the work, your thinking and process and all that. So then you arrive at that stage. It's not that overnight something happened and then it like a magic. It doesn't have. It looks like magic, but there is a lot of history to the whole process of magic. So this idea that paper is fragile is only partially true. Because if the weather condition is correct, like in Ladakh and parts of Tibet, there are Buddhist manuscripts done on paper, 1,000 years old or slightly more. So paper will survive in the right, like dry weather. Humidity is a problem, but by itself, the kind of paper I do is archivally made, and there are no chemicals involved. There are no additives and all that. So this will survive 70 to 100 years very easily. And it's very strong in terms of its own. So it's a strange combination of being resilient and strong and then being vulnerable. So that is what I'm trying to bring about in these works. And then there is a reference to body, cellular structure and membrane and all kind of connections that you have, but it is not really defined as a very particular kind of image. So I like this idea of invoking something, suggesting something, and then leaving it at that stage. Because any good artwork, in my perception, should have that ability to take you beyond what is being shown. And paper is actually unwoven cloth, because in the vat, the pulp, which is fiber, is floating in water, and then you pick it up, and then it gets enmeshed into each other, and that is what creates the whole paper. And that technique has not changed in 2000 years. In China it started, then it went to Mongolia, it went to Europe, and then during the Mughal time it came to India. There are people in Rajasthan even now. They're called Kagzi family. So they specialize in making paper. Of course, now it has become common knowledge, but at that time, only they could do it because only they knew the technique and things like that. This is one of the work called Shroud of Bapu. I make a fresh sheet of paper, and that sheet is literally covered on an existing sculpture, a statue, and then it gets all the details, but it is hollow from backside. So I was trying to make a work which talks about the idea of how Bapu has become more like a shroud, and so these are all plant-based fibers. You'll see that each one has its own color. It can be translucent, it can be opaque. Then you can also make watermarks in that. Like if you see, this has got a watermark. So this is the structure of the paper. It's very fibrous, and all the fibers holding on to each other and creating that web. This is a very tough fiber, so you could not further grind it. But this is the structure of the paper, and then you will see that it gets connected to my work. What is in the paper becomes part of the outer structure, like some sculptures like that. Is very you'll see that that's a new kind of sculpture which I'm making. It's very soft, and you can calendar it. You can
Could you hold this also?
yeah. This is one of the relief, one of the artist books. So artist books can be done in several ways. One is book objects like this, which looks like book, but you can't turn the pages around so I've done that kind of full books also. Then you can do altered books. You can take an existing book, do something with it, add some text, thereby subvert the whole meaning and things like that. This is called limbo, where you're stuck in a certain stage, and then neither you can close nor open, and then a metaphor for a state of mind. And I wanted a very chewing gum kind of feel, which has come through. So this book I was trying to create like traditional palm leaf manuscripts. The structure is there. The language itself is like illegible, but the paper was made here. Then I used tea decoction to make it look very old and aged and all that. This was an extension of my sculptural project, which where I had done this 50 different megaphones in different materials. One was in cotton, stone, and metal, and all that. And then what kind of meaning does the material bring to the image? So that was in 2018. This is one of my photo book called Ghar Mein Ghus Ke Marenge. It's about how aggression has become part of the individual, family, and society. And so the material, like for example, this is one of the collection of my images from the city. And I have another practice which I want to show you. I have these books where I maintain. One second. So these are a very important part of my practice. I call them idea notation books. Like whatever idea I get, I write it down with some amount of text and explanation. The fundamental premise is that you don't judge an idea as the idea is coming to you. You will document it, and then at some point I'll sit and figure out various iterations that are possible, and then write it down. This is like a zip file for me, and this I've been doing from 1999. So almost like 26 years of documentation of ideas are there. And like this one, this is the initial idea. Then actually it became one of the works which you're seeing in the. So it is not necessary that the initial idea will become perfect, but it is a seed. Like you can think like this. I was trying to analyze how different things get connected in my work, emotions and the society and politics and morality and aggression. You'll see it, I can make an entire presentation about how this, in my work, all these connections are happening. So it's always, some amount of planning, some amount of insight is there, but there is also a lot of actual making that happens. And in the process of making, you realize, you figure out the possibility and things like that. Sometimes I want to run away from the studio because things don't work. It's possible. It's not that you're in a zone all the time. It's not. That is not the reality at all. That is the myth that is created around the creative thing. The other important thing is, if somebody is working in a 9 to 5 job or 9 to 8 job, they come and do Sunday painting or whatever. They do hobby as a painting. But if you're painting through the day, or if you're working in a creative field through the day, what will you do to unwind? Right? So it's a problem, right? So it's sometimes it's very difficult to unwind also. Early morning I get up and then ideas are churning in the head. And then you want to come to the studio, try it out, and all that. So it becomes in a way part of you all the time. And because I document the city visual culture, wherever I go, I'm documenting. Like as I'm going around, I stop for a second, take pictures, that goes into the folder. The visual culture of the city, initially I didn't have this like a big project. I do a course called Art Appreciation, and I wanted to tell the students, look, how the visual language is used in the outside world is very similar to how we use it in the art in per se, right? So I started finding samples in posters, in newspaper, in banners and things like that. So the idea of hierarchy, for example, you see these banners, no? The main leader will be the biggest figure, and then there'll be somebody next to him, and there'll be somebody below the feet, at the level of ground, somebody on top. So what is the meaning of that? So you start decoding that, and then in the process, I started getting very interested I started documenting them, and then I got a camera, so it became even more easier. Then I got a mobile. With mobile, though, you don't need to carry heavy stuff. So out of interest, I started collecting, and then I started thinking about it. And in my classes, I use, I do a course called Politics of Representation. How do you represent something, and what is the politics of that? Right? And how it kind of reinforces the existing ideas of, let's say, women or various kind of. So I started using this sample. These are about the recent. This one is political parties. They started addressing groups like Christians, Muslims, and then in the Lingayat community there are Madivada, Dalits, and so on and so forth, and then different kind of colors. And this is the hierarchy which I was talking about. And there are hardly any women now. They started appearing a little bit here and there. And these are the the local leaders. In front of their house, they put up this huge birthday thing. Just 10 feet, 20 feet down the road, they're no more. They'll become like this one. This is the local ex-corporator. About 100 feet, he becomes such a small guy. Because his relevance is that area only. So that is the kind of thing I start reading. And then what happens to the flex banner? I call them off, flex afterlife. Yeah. It's don't quit. Because, in the media, they show creative endeavor like one, fantastic thing. It is, but it is also not. On a daily basis, you have to work. Hard labor is there, and then you don't get success or money all the time. Right? So this advertisement where they say they're sitting in the cafe, he takes that one of those napkins, he'll write on something, and then the next shot is 30 seconds in the lab, and then third shot is the award getting, and then fourth shot is standing in the corner building, and then the whole city is seeing. Doesn't work like that. So that's it's very frustrating on some days, because things don't work in work or sometimes in the outside world. So you need that very strong motivation to survive in terms of be in the field.